Hey guys, can you hear me okay? Please let me know if you can hear me, because I'm always trying to get the good audio settings going on here. Using a different camera setup, as you can see on my computer here. Can you hear the guitar okay? Is it loud enough? Okay, nice, because usually I use the electric, and then I don't have a perfect setup for the electric, so then sometimes it's hard to hear the guitar, so that's why I'm jamming on the acoustic today, and a little bit easier, a little bit of a change. All right, so thank you guys for joining me today. I wanted to obviously jump on and say a big thank you to everyone who's joined the channel recently. In the short period of time that I've been working on this, it's really exceeded my expectations of how much it's grown, and to reach like 30,000 subscribers is pretty amazing to me. I know on YouTube it may not seem like the biggest number, but a few months ago I was thinking, man, if I could have like 10,000 subscribers, that would be incredible. So now today we're celebrating 30, which is just like awesome. It's so cool. So thank you guys for joining. I really do appreciate all the support and the comments and everything that you guys do. So thank you so much. And I wanted to do a fun kind of Q&A, which I always enjoy doing. I wanted you to be able to see me and the guitar. I love doing Q&As, and you guys can ask pretty much anything. If it's lesson related or gear related or anything at all, I just love answering questions. And if there is anything with the guitar, if you guys are interested in how I do certain things, or just things that you kind of want help with, I'm here to answer, and I love talking about that stuff. I used to do a lot of clinics back in the day. I used to do clinics for like Ibanez guitars and stuff, which was really cool, which would be teaching to a crowd, teaching to an audience. And I love those. They're so much fun. So this is now my virtual clinics. And it's really cool because I get to reach people from all over the world and talk to everyone. And it's obviously a little bit easier. You're not restricted to come to a live performance or anything like that. So it's a lot of fun. So definitely feel free to ask as many questions as you can, and I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. But thank you guys for supporting the channel. I'm working really hard on trying to come up with the best content that I can. I literally was just coming up with an idea this morning that I was working on. Might be posting it today or tomorrow, but so yeah, I'm putting in a lot of effort, and I really do appreciate all the support and having you guys along for the ride. It's a lot of fun. So thank you. Let's get to some questions. So thank you for everyone saying congrats. I really do appreciate it, and it's pretty awesome to celebrate. So let's see. So do you have advice on how to practice on the upper frets? I think, for the most part, I think it's probably just getting used to it. And if you're not used to playing up there often, and obviously the acoustic is not going to be the best example here of playing up there, but it does take a bit of getting used to because the frets get so small. And sometimes, especially for stretches, if you're used to doing, say, a scale or something down here, you're used to, say, a stretch like this. All of a sudden, when you get up here, the frets are not too far apart. So sometimes you're overstretching, or as you said, sometimes the fingers have a tough time fitting within the correct fret. I think that mostly is just practice. You may feel like a bit of like clumsiness up top on the fretboard just at first, just because you're not used to it, but I don't think you would have any actual like physical restriction to playing those frets. It's more just getting used to it. too high up on this guitar, but yeah. Am I a disciplined practicer? So that's a great question. Yeah, absolutely. There's no two ways about that. So, and especially going back to my younger years where I was really, developing the technique and developing my playing. I was lucky to start quite young. I started when I was like 8 or 9 years old. So by the time I was a teenager, I was in bands and I was playing some pretty complex stuff. And when I was 17, I won a really big guitar competition in the States, which right behind, actually, I should show this. I've never shown this on camera, but you guys might get a kick out of this. It's pretty cool. Right behind my camera here is my trophy. Excuse all the dust. I need to clean this thing. Holy smokes. But you can see that in 2007, I won this guitar competition, and probably one of the craziest, best experiences of my life. It was so much fun. And if you haven't seen the videos or anything, one of my biggest heroes, John 5, was one of the judges. And so since I won, I gotta go up on stage and play with John 5 and with all the judges. And that was like unreal, and still, such an experience that I look back on and really love. So getting back to the question, discipline practicing when I was younger, to get to that point by the age of like 17 or so, the practicing was very intense, very disciplined, to the point of excess. And I don't actually suggest that most people do what I was doing, in all honesty. I don't think you really need to go to the excessive level that I was at. But my idols, looking at Yngwie Malmsteen and Steve Vai and Eddie Van Halen and Slash and all those guys, they all basically said the same thing, which was I would just practice countless hours every single day until, late into the night. And then I would wake up and do it again. And so I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do that. And Steve Vai had that infamous 30-hour guitar workout, and I would follow that. And there was a time where I was doing many, many hours a day. And again, I wouldn't suggest that for most people. You sacrifice a lot of other things in your life. And yes, you get the reward of developing the skill. And especially when you're younger, maybe that's easier to do. Nowadays, I wouldn't have that time at all. But it's funny, like a lot of people are like, we didn't see you for like 2 years. It's like, yeah, I was practicing guitar. And it sounds insane, but that's exactly what it was. But so nowadays with practicing, I still do try to practice a little bit every day. Now it's much harder to find the time. But now, I like learning songs or learning challenging things, trying to kind of explore new ideas, doing some improvising over backing tracks and stuff like that. But I still do try to put in a little bit of time each day. But I am lucky that with teaching guitar all day, pretty much every day, it does keep me in shape with the guitar. And, I don't ever feel like my technique is kind of lagging or going downhill or anything like that, even if I'm not putting in like the crazy amount of practice that I used to, because with teaching, I'm keeping in shape, with the job, which is really nice, and I'm lucky to have that. Do I have any songs available on streaming services? I used to. I had 2 like albums that I put out many years ago, 2009, 2012, I think it was. And then, but they're not on there anymore. I should, maybe I'll put them back up, or maybe I'll share that music at some point, because it was pretty, fun stuff. And actually, I should share that, because that actually would be a really cool thing. My first EP that I did was when I got home from being at school. I had developed all these like production skills, or not an excessive amount, but just I could produce music by that point. And so I decided to make an EP. And what I did was, for a week, I would record a song every day. So I had to write the song and then record it and like get it done in a day. And so it took me 1 week, and I had 5 songs that I put together. And there, you know, it's a big mix. There's some different styles of music on there and stuff, but it's still a lot of fun to go back and listen to. So maybe I should share that at some point, and share that music, just because it's you know, it's kind of cool to go back to and look at it. Maybe even teach some licks from it. Any advice for a young artist struggling on what kind of genre they want to do? Oh, that's a good question. But you know what? I wouldn't think about it that way. I would not think about what kind of genre do I want to do. Especially nowadays, I find even more than in the past, you don't have to be genre limited in any way. So if you just want to write the music that is sincere to you, expresses you, and do not care about what kind of label it fits into, or style it fits into, or what other bands it may sound like. Don't worry about that at all. The more of a wide mixture you can get with styles, the more unique your sound is going to be, and then the more it's going to set you apart from everyone else. So what I mean by that is, if I wanted to play, let's say I wanted to make a metal band or something like that, if I'm looking at other bands as my inspiration, saying, you know, I want to do what, I don't know, off the top of my head, Avenged Sevenfold. I want to do what Avenged Sevenfold's doing, and you know, they do have a nice mixture of styles. But let's say I just want to, you know, do kind of similar to what they're doing. I'm just going to end up sounding kind of like Avenged Sevenfold. And most of the time, why would people listen to a band that kind of sounds like Avenged Sevenfold when they can just go listen to Avenged Sevenfold? So you want to sound like you, and you're going to do that by just not caring about where it fits in. Going back to that EP I was talking about a second ago, that EP has such an eclectic mix of music. The first track is like a pure metal track. The last track is a blues track. There's this kind of atmospheric cinematic track later on. It's such a big mixture. So, but since it's you, it's going to all be cohesive and come together. So yeah, don't think about genres. Just write the music that you want to write, and that it helps express you as an artist, and you'll definitely get much, much further that way. So hopefully that helps. Rippingest. I like it. Judas Priest solo. Off the top of my head, I can't play any Judas Priest solos. Just I don't know them, and clearly not holding the right guitar for a Judas Priest solo. The thing is, with a lot of the covers that you guys see on my channel, those are, if you ask me to play half of those now, I wouldn't remember them, because usually if people are kind of making a challenge for me to play them, I learn them like that day, and then usually it's posted you know, day of, right? So it's like the Eugene's Trick Bag that I posted from Crossroads, that was that day. Perpetual Burn by Becker, or Jason Becker, I think that was like the next day I started it, and then the next day I kind of recorded it or something like that. But so a lot of that stuff, I wouldn't even remember how it goes. I'd have to go back and learn it again, and then do it. Obviously, I know like a lot of music off the top of my head, but just a lot of the covers you see on the channel are done that way. So, ooh. Whoa, not used to bends. There we go. What's up, Greg? Thank you for for joining us, bud. Good to see you. Also, would you make a Discord community server for your channel? So I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know exactly what that is. I'm still very new to this. So like the online live streaming, and you guys can probably tell that already that this is not the most professional or high quality live stream that you've ever seen. But if please in the comments let me know exactly what that is, and or I can always search it up afterwards, of course. But if you guys are always wanting aspects of my channel like that, then I'm happy to add and look into that stuff for sure. Any option on starting out with acoustic versus electric versus hybrid instrument? Yeah, so I think the myth of or the idea of you have to start on acoustic and then go to electric is total nonsense, or just a myth. Like it doesn't matter. Start on the instrument that motivates you the most. And if it is electric, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And especially for younger students, like kids, sometimes I suggest maybe starting on electric because it is a little bit easier and you can get started. It's a little bit more of a confidence builder. Obviously the electric as well, you can turn on effects and you can turn on some distortion and stuff, and it just sounds so cool, which keeps people hooked and motivated to keep practicing. The acoustic is amazing too, and if the acoustic motivates you and you want to do more fingerstyle type stuff, then do that, of course. But there definitely is no rule of, oh, you got to start on acoustic for this amount of time or until you can play this, and then you can move on to electric. That's just nonsense, and don't worry about that. If you say you're wanting to pick up the guitar and you're a big Metallica fan, or yeah, just go to electric and have fun and riff out and crank up the gain and it's gonna sound really cool. Yeah, you can do it on acoustic, but come on, you're not going to learn Blackened by Metallica on acoustic. All right, let's get to some more questions. This is fun. I appreciate you guys joining me today. How can I bring more variety into my improvisation? Great question. So with improvising, it is so normal for every guitar player at any level to feel like you kind of get stuck in a rut and you end up playing the same things you usually play. It doesn't matter if you're Eddie Van Halen or Guthrie Govan, or if you're kind of starting off and you're using, say, the pentatonic scale to kind of get an idea of how to improvise. It's really, really normal to just end up kind of playing the same things you typically play. But there are some great ways to get around that. So two things is you would want to spend some time trying to come up with more original ideas. So I actually suggest that it's a good thing to sit there for a little bit of time each day and just try to kind of think ahead of some ideas before you're improvising, meaning like just sit there with the guitar and whatever scale you're using or whatever arpeggios you're using, whatever it is that you improvise with, sit with it for a few minutes and see if you can kind of come up with stuff that you don't typically do, whether it's a run or adding in a type of technique or just coming up with a phrase that you think sounds cool. And then you're basically building your bag of tricks that way that you can then add into your improvising. Because of course, if you watch someone like Joe Satriani or Steve Vai or any of those guys improvise, they are improvising, but a lot of what they play, it's their bag of tricks. They know what they can play. They know what they've done before. And when you see Satriani doing his crazy legato runs, it's not like he's never done that before, right? And it is kind of improvised in terms of the direction, but he knows what he's doing. He knows that he can pull that off, right? So it is developing your own ideas that way, but also doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Guthrie Govan or Satriani or someone like that. You're not going to think of all the ideas on your own. So part of building up your own improvisation is seeing what other players do. So learn a lot of solos, and it doesn't matter if you're a blues player or a shredder or anything in between. Learn the players that you like, and then just take little bits of what you like from them. And I do this with students all the time. And the great thing is it can be like the smallest of details, or it can be, an idea of a phrase. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but let's say, I don't know, let's say I'm looking at like Red House by Hendrix or something like that. When he goes, something like that. Like that phrase right there. Sorry. That phrase right there, you could pick that apart and really look at what you like out of that phrase. Those extra notes he's throwing in, and that may be a phrase that you wouldn't naturally come up with. So then you can use that inspiration of looking at Hendrix or anyone like that and add it into your improvising. And it's not going to sound like you're plagiarizing him. It's not going to sound like you're ripping off Hendrix, because it's probably not going to be over the exact same progression. It's probably not going to be in the same key all the time. And it's just going to have a different flow to it if you're adding it into something different. If I'm playing more of like kind of an AC/DC. That was almost the exact same phrase as Red House. I'm just phrasing the rhythm a little bit different. I don't think anyone would notice that. I don't think it would sound like, oh wait, that's Red House by Hendrix, but it's almost note for note. So, I mean, don't rip it off note for note, but you get the idea. Let's keep the questions coming, guys. I love it. Being a Canadian lad, you must know a bit of acoustic Triumph. I know Triumph, but I couldn't play anything off the top of my head. And maybe that makes me a bad Canadian. I apologize. I should say sorry as a Canadian, right? Currently, I'm trying to learn Serena Arpeggios by Jason Becker. Do you have any thoughts on it, except for practicing for weeks? Well, great goal, great ambitious piece to work on. Stuff like that can be great because obviously if you're trying Serena Arpeggios by Jason Becker, so many other solos or arpeggio stuff is then going to feel a lot easier afterwards. You're going for the top here. And then when you try to throw in an arpeggio, in a solo or something like that, it's going to seem so much easier once you've worked on Serena. Now, with a piece like that, actually, I was going to put a short out this week of guitar advice, and this is pretty much what I was going to talk about, which was the biggest thing I'm always telling students. It doesn't matter what they're working on. Speed is the last thing to worry about. Speed is always the last thing to be concerned about. So especially with sweep picking. Sweep picking takes a long time to get really fluent and really smooth with it. So when you're working on those arpeggios, just don't be afraid to start really, really slow. And just get it nice and clean, get the notes sounding as clean as possible. Get it into the right rhythm, especially for a piece like that where you're trying to get the flow of it. Trying to get the flow of it, right? So then try to make your way through the different shapes in time and then slowly speed up the rhythm. For that, I would probably use a metronome just so that you can kind of keep track of your progress. But yeah, so just don't worry about the speed at first. take it nice and slow. I always think it's better to have it a little bit slower and cleaner in time than trying to go too fast and it's messy and it's sloppy, right? That's just not going to sound as good, even if it's faster. It doesn't sound great. And as you get better at it, of course, it will become cleaner and faster naturally, right? So just take it slow and. Oh, I'm glad I inspired you to try it. That's awesome. Jason Becker is always one of my favorite guitar players, and I think he definitely deserves like even more credit than he gets, which he deserves so much for how talented he is. So that's why I was kind of posting some content and a little bit of a tribute to him, just because obviously it's such a huge inspiration to me. I love his guitar playing, and even with his technical ability, like his speed and his flash, he has such a feel and expressive form of playing, which is really rare at that level of technique. So it's the guy's unbelievable. Oh, that's a great video idea. 5 songs that made you a better guitar player. Totally. That's a great idea. So if you want, no pressure, but maybe comment that on one of my videos, and then I'll actually like use the comment in the video introduction. I'll show you a comment, because that's a great idea. I really like that idea. And it would actually be also a lot of fun to look back and think of, the 5 songs that had a big impact on me. So thank you for that. I love that. Yeah, let's keep the questions coming, guys. I'm loving this. How do you play like Michael Hedges style? Couldn't tell you. Yeah, see you, Greg. Thanks for joining, bud. I'll see you in our lesson. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the DJ Khaled. How did I do that? Yeah. That video was so funny. Not the video itself, but the story was funny just because I had seen that video of DJ Khaled playing the guitar a while before, and I am definitely not one to put down anyone on the guitar, but clearly not a guitarist. Clearly not the person to give a guitar to. And it just always makes me laugh because of just the pure confidence in his face as he's and it just that contradiction just made me laugh a lot. And so because of that confidence, I was thinking like maybe in his head it sounds really nice. So then one night I decided to just play with that and have some fun, and the one thing that he's doing really well in that video is his right hand is keeping a very steady strum pattern, and he's locked into the rhythm that way. So that gives me a lot to work with. And then I can just put these like interesting chords, and they were actually purposely thought out with that kind of like chill neo soul, lo-fi type progression, which is pretty popular right now. And so it's kind of like a little jazzy neo soul type thing. And then I threw in the just, you know, for some embellishments and to have some fun with it. So I made that, I don't know, in like half an hour or something like that. And it was like right before I went to bed. And I posted it just thinking, I'm sure some people will get a kick out of this. And then I woke up and I posted it on TikTok. And I woke up and it had over 1 million views already just from overnight. And I was like, oh my God, that is nuts. And then now on TikTok, I think it's close to like 7 million views or something crazy like that. So it's like, yeah, it's great to see something like that take off as much as it did. I just didn't think it would have that reaction, but it's cool that it did. And it's just kind of fun. But obviously, I'm not making fun of anyone. It's just having fun with the video. But it's cool that everyone's kind of enjoyed it, and it still makes me laugh that a lot of people argue in the comments whether he's actually playing it or not, which I thought was like so clearly obvious that he's not doing it when his left hand is doing this, you know, something like that, right? It's like I thought it was pretty obvious, but I guess not, and that's okay. But yeah, it's kind of having fun with it. So what is my most expensive guitar? At the moment, I've had actually my most expensive guitar that I have owned that I am a fool for getting rid of, like an absolute fool. When I won that guitar competition that I was showing the trophy for, it was sponsored by Gibson. And since I won, they had part of the prize was a Gibson Les Paul Supreme. Yes, a Gibson Les Paul Supreme. If they don't make them anymore, so if you're not familiar with it, go check it out. It's an absolutely gorgeous guitar. But when I went away to school for music, which I needed the cash because it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, I had to sell it for money. Yeah. And I'm an idiot and I regret it so much. And I wish I had that now. Obviously, if it helped me afford to go to school, it had a positive impact. But boy, would I love to have that guitar now. Absolutely. So I actually just had a student sign up, and he has a Les Paul Supreme, a Gibson Les Paul Supreme. I was like, oh. Yeah, I know that instrument. But right now, most expensive guitar I have I don't have really expensive guitars. I don't even like having really expensive guitars, to be completely honest, because I almost don't want to play them very often. You know, if it gets a little scratch on it or something, I'm fine with that. That's cool. But if it's like you know, R9 by Gibson, like the reissue 59 or something crazy like that, like I won't even want to play that thing. I just want to like keep it in a case and not touch it. So I don't really like owning really expensive guitars. But I have the Gibson Les Paul Tribute, which I got new. A lot of the guitars I have as well, I get used. Like my Ibanez that you see a lot, that was bought used because you can find them for great deals. And yeah, I think, and then I also have my Ibanez 7-string back there as well, which I also got used. But I love those guitars, those older Ibanezes made in Japan. Which guitar would you prefer, a PRS SE or a custom Fender Mexican, since I'm confused between these two to buy right now? So I actually haven't played that many PRSs, and I should. I also feel like if I do sit down with a lot of PRSs, I'm probably going to want to get one because they do look and sound beautiful, and they have some unique features that are great. It is, you know, yeah, if you're stuck between the two, I'm sure you like both of them, but it is a personal preference, of course. The Mexican Strats are awesome. They've always been great. And the PRS, probably, I don't know, with the PRS, I feel like you might get a little more bang for your buck, maybe, but that's just kind of my guess between the two. So try them out. Sit with them for a while if you can, if you have that ability, like an option close by, I mean. And yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one because I think the PRS typically has split coils, if I'm not mistaken. So it gives you like a single coil sound. I could be wrong on that, but let me know if that's true. All right. How old am I? I've just turned 33 this year. I'm an old man. Yeah. How do you get your tapping to be louder? I notice when I do it, it works, just it isn't as sharp. That's a great question. So, you know, with tapping, it's the same as like hammer-ons and pull-offs with your fretting hand. That you do want to try to aim to get them as loud as you can. It is a good idea actually to, if you're playing on electric, roll down your volume all the way so you don't have the help of the amp, and sit there, you know, acoustically, and try to get the note nice and loud. And that's from just hitting the string really, really hard. I don't think there's really such thing as too hard. As long as you're getting it nice and loud, as you know, as loud as if you picked it, if that makes sense. You don't want try to do it quietly. Just try to get it nice and loud. With tapping, though, it's the same thing with your fretting hand. Just hit it nice and hard. So, you know, it also will take some time to build up the calluses on your tapping hand because they're probably not used to doing that. But yeah, try to do it, you know, unamplified. And then when you do have the help of the amp and especially some distortion, it's going to seem so much easier and so much louder and so much cleaner. Yeah, I need to look into this Discord server. You know, I will definitely check that out because that's not something I'm too familiar with. So, you know, I'm still trying to figure out YouTube and stuff like that, and TikTok and everything. So I will definitely look into that, and I appreciate the suggestion as well. So if you think that would be a great thing for me to add, then I'll definitely be taking a look at that. So thank you. What do you think about Buckethead? Buckethead is a phenomenal talent. Yeah, he's amazing. You know, and I think like his playing is unbelievable, but I think it's also just extremely clever to have a performance like gimmick that he has with like the bucket on his head and stuff, and also just that kind of character that he has. I think that's if he, how do I say this? His talent can speak for itself and his playing can speak for itself, but there's a million guys out there who can play really well and play super fast and flashy and do crazy stuff. So it's just really clever to kind of set yourself apart that way and to put a KFC bucket on your head, and people will remember you after they've seen you. They'll be like, yeah, don't forget that guy. So I think that's really, really smart. Hey, Nigel, thanks for joining. I got a couple students in here. This is great. Thank you, guys. Any tips on playing legato on acoustic? It takes it takes a lot of strength in your hands or in your fingers. So then, you know, it's probably going to build up some extra calluses at first. But just, you know, hit the strings nice and hard and start slow. You want to have enough momentum so that the notes don't die out in between, because that's the thing with legato. If you're going, now you have to hit the string super hard to get it nice and loud. So you want some momentum, but you don't want to try to go too fast at first if the strength isn't there. Would you say a Les Paul tribute is worth the money? Okay, so that guitar has like is so nice. It honestly is so nice. I was going to the guitar store that day thinking I was going to get the Les Paul Classic, because from what I had read, it seemed a little more my type of thing. It had like the slightly hotter pickups. It had the slightly thinner neck, split coils. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like the best one for me. And then I wasn't really thinking of getting the tribute. And then I picked it up in the store, and it has a satin finish on it, on the neck and the body. And the neck shape of it is like exactly what I was wanting. The feel of it was incredible. It looks like a traditional Les Paul, which I was going for. That's why I didn't go to a studio, just because typically the studios have color options that are not reminiscent of a traditional Les Paul. Like I wanted, what looks like Jimmy Page or Slash, like that classic Les Paul, the sunburst and everything. So I wasn't planning on getting that guitar, but as soon as I played it, I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is definitely the guitar. And I liked it even more than the classic. I did sit down with the classic, and I actually didn't like it, surprisingly. But yeah, that guitar, especially for the price, because compared to the classic, it's over $1,000 less than that guitar, and yet I liked it even more. So it's like I would definitely say it's worth the money, and it's still American made and everything. So it's a great guitar, and it definitely comes with like one of the best cases that I've ever had. It's like, I have it right here. This like kind of hard, kind of soft shell case. It's like this really nice leather, padded case, and it's really, really nice. It's a beautiful case. So I definitely think it's a great guitar for the price. And for me, I wanted a Gibson Les Paul, but I didn't want to spend the money on a standard or something like that. For how, for what I would use it for, I didn't want to invest that much money. So then I think it's absolutely perfect. Who is my favorite guitarist and favorite band artist? That's a tough one, because I obviously have so many, but I would say all time would probably be, like, favorite guitarist would have to be Eddie Van Halen for sure. Hands down the greatest rock guitar player of all time, in my opinion. I would even put him above Hendrix, and yes, I said that. I would put him above Hendrix and Page and all those guys. And I love those guitar players, but I do think, the contribution to rock guitar that Eddie had is unmatched. I don't think anyone had that level of impact. What I mean by that is, when you look at like Hendrix in the 60s, yes, he added so much, and he's so talented and prolific and everything. But there was also Jimmy Page, there was Eric Clapton, there was a lot of other great guitar players at that time who were kind of peers, and they were around the same level. When Eddie came out, no one was even close to him. Like, it was this young guy, I think he was like 23 at the time when he came out. No one could play like him. No one was even close to doing the kind of stuff and the tone. Also, even the construction of the guitar. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for being one of the first guys to have like a humbucker and a Strat style guitar, and like reinvent the guitar physically as well. So it's Eddie Van Halen would definitely be my favorite guitar player. Favorite bands, I have a lot of favorite bands, but Van Halen would have to be up there. The Beatles would have to be up there for sure. Love the Beatles. Led Zeppelin. There's so many. It's tough. So many, but that is a good question. Yeah, if you're thinking about getting a Les Paul tribute, go and try it out, because I think you'll be impressed. The one I tried, luckily, it didn't need really a setup. Maybe it was already set up nice, but I didn't have to adjust anything on it. Unfortunately, sometimes when you try a guitar for the first time, it could use some fresh strings and a setup. And once you get that done, it plays beautifully. The neck on it is extremely comfortable. That thing's awesome. It's so nice. Do I use any amp modelers? Yeah. So if you watch any of the stuff on my channel, literally any of the stuff on my channel, it's actually all done through modeling. It's not any amps. And this always kind of surprises people, but it's actually all GarageBand. I'm plugged directly into GarageBand for every video you've seen, and all of the guitar tones are GarageBand. So I do have a couple like presets that I've to get the kind of sound that I'm going for. But like for instance, those when you hire rock guitars for jazz gig videos, there's a preset in GarageBand like clean jazz something, or clean jazz sound or something, and I'm literally just using that. I haven't even tweaked it at all. I think I add some reverb to it or something, but yeah, it's all of it is GarageBand, which it really blows me away how good it is and how great of a sound you can get from that software, especially considering that it's like a free software that comes with a Mac. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. If you, with the 80s era of guitarists, you know, maybe that's something I should even do a little bit more and kind of showcase some of like the best guitarists from that time period, just because it is a long time ago. I wasn't even born for most of it. And so, you know, younger viewers, it can be fairly removed at this point. So they may not know a lot of those guys who have had such an influence on the guys nowadays, the Tim Hensons and the all those guys. So it, you know, it would be kind of cool to do even a bit more of that, where I'm showcasing some of the greatest players from that time. Can I make a lesson video on jazz guitar? I can make a lesson video on the you know, kind of basic elements of jazz, but I am definitely not an expert jazz player. You know, that is not my forte, and that's what makes me laugh on the videos of when you hire rock guitars for a jazz gig, and then some of the comments are like, well, you know, he's clearly not a jazz player. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am not. I'm trying to, you know, somewhat fake through, you know, sounding jazz. But yeah, it's not exactly my forte. But with jazz, you know, the type of progressions that they use, the types of chords and harmonies that they use, the type of scales that they use, and also the approach of jazz when it comes to improvisation is really interesting, where you're really trying to pay attention to the chords, you're trying to follow the chords. That's an approach that can be taken to any style of music, and when applied, it always sounds good and it always works. So, excuse me, whether it's you know, a blues style or even a metal style, if you kind of approach it from a jazz standpoint, it can really help. It can really help set your solos apart that way. So. Yeah. So is my Licks Pro turquoise Strat actually as awesome as it looks? So I genuinely would never endorse or promote a product that I don't think is good. I would not do that. And so with the Licks Pro, since it was such an affordable, you know, kind of beginner end guitar, I had not played one before when they reached out to me about doing a collaboration. I wasn't expecting very much. I was thinking this guitar is probably not going to be very good. So that was the idea of doing a giveaway. And that was my idea, was let's do a guitar giveaway on TikTok. And it got a lot of attention, which was great. And I was planning on giving away the one that they sent to me. That was the plan. And then when we chose a winner, Licks Pro said we'll send out a brand new one for them, so it's fresh out of the box, and you can keep the one you had, which wasn't my original thinking. Which I was like, all right, well, you know, who's going to say no to that? But that guitar is actually really, really nice. I've spent many, many hours playing it. It has a beautiful Strat feel and tone to it. And, you know, I set it up and I, you know, have it set up in a way where it plays really nice. But it's a really nice guitar. It's very lightweight. It has a really nice Strat tone to it, which I love. And the color of it looks like awesome as well. And it does come in a lot of different colors as well. But yeah, it's a really cool guitar. So as for that one, I've actually looked at maybe replacing the pickups. I know you can get like loaded pick guards where it comes with the pickups already installed. I was looking at maybe getting one of those as well. But I think, you know, if I were to put in some DiMarzios or something like that into that guitar, I think it would absolutely rip, because that guitar is a lot of fun to play. How can you tell if your form is wrong or if you just didn't practice enough? The one thing to keep in mind with form and technique, and because I get that a lot from students who sign up, they say, I don't want to have any bad habits, which makes sense, and you don't want to have any bad habits. But when it comes to technique, my approach is, you know, everyone does do things a little bit differently. For example, holding the pick. You know, there is a way that will kind of work for most people. But if you were to look at like John Petrucci, Paul Gilbert, Marty Friedman, any of these guys, they all hold it a little bit differently. Eddie Van Halen doesn't even hold it with his first finger; he holds it with his middle finger and stuff. But who's going to tell Eddie Van Halen not to do that? Not me. So with students, I actually have a student right now who holds the pick with his middle finger, and the guy can absolutely play and riff and shred and stuff. So it's like, yeah, if it works for you, and if it you know, if it's not holding you back, then yeah, don't change it, don't mess with it, and keep doing it, because for him it clearly works. So there are, you know, you want to make sure you're not getting into bad habits. That's absolutely correct. But at the same time, don't be afraid of doing things a little bit differently than everyone else. Do you think that expensive American-made custom guitars add that extra tone, or is it just the work of an expensive amp or pedals? That's a good question. This is a debate that every guitar player will debate till the end of time. There's a lot of guitar players who say that the wood in the guitar matters a lot to the tone, and then there's a lot of players who say it doesn't, and it's purely the pickups. I honestly don't know either way. I would go towards the wood, right? I would say mahogany would give you a little bit different tone than ash or something like that. But I do think your tone also comes from you. I think it comes from your fingers, and even for tone, I think it actually comes from you. And if you play a $300 guitar, or if you play a $3,000 guitar, I don't think your tone is all of a sudden going to be so much better unless you really know how to play that guitar. It's like, you know, in my opinion, it's like just because you can buy a Ferrari doesn't make you a great driver. You know what I mean? It's something kind of like that. Is at least my opinion about it. Playing for 2 months now, and I'm only trying to shred alongside I learned some chords and pentatonic. So with technique, and I assume that's kind of what you mean by shred, is just building up like fast technique and playing fast and everything. It's excellent to have that in your practice routine, and I would always include that at least a little bit. But you want to make sure it's not everything you're doing. You want to make sure you're more well-rounded than that. Try to practice scales and chords, improvisation. Learning songs is a lot of people always say like, oh, I don't want to learn any songs, or they're so against learning songs, and I think it's a mistake. I think it's important to learn songs for many different reasons. But technique should be an element of your practice, but you want to make sure you're not over practicing. Technique is really something to work on only so that it eliminates obstacles, meaning that you are physically able to play more things. So, you know, if you are trying a really fast technical metal piece, or if you're trying a fast technical jazz piece or something, or even classical or something like that, you can physically play it. But what I mean is I wouldn't practice fast exercises to be able to do that. That doesn't really mean much. Musically, it doesn't really mean much. Like, you have to apply it into something. So that would be my suggestion. I appreciate you saying that that I've hit 30,000, but to me it's a lot of people, and I'm pretty excited to hit that number. Now, my goal is to get it a lot higher. I'm working really hard on trying to get it much higher than that, but for the short period of time, I'm very excited to hit 30,000 subscribers. So thank you. All right, guys. So I do have to run in a minute or two. So any questions that you have, I do want to answer as many as I can. We'll wrap it up in a couple minutes here. But I do appreciate so many of you joining and asking questions. And my goal since day one with this channel is to build a community of people who are either guitar enthusiasts, guitar players, or just like electric or guitar stuff. So that's why I do spend a bit of time every day replying to comments, and if people ask questions in the comments, whatever it is, but sometimes it's like, how do you do this on the guitar? I will, I try to take the time out of the day to answer and reply. I want it to be a community, and I want it to feel like a place to celebrate guitar. I obviously do want it to be a positive place to celebrate guitar. So if some person leaves a really negative comment, then it's like not saying you don't like the video, that's totally fine, but just if no meanness, no negativity. I want it to be a positive community for guitar players. So yeah, always feel free to reach out that way and comment, and I will try to get back to you. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that. That is my goal. Is I'm trying to reach 100,000 as soon as possible. That is the absolute goal in my head. And with the, it's already exceeded my expectations. So I do appreciate that, and I do plan on getting there. I'm going to keep going until I do. So thank you. And if you're not subscribed, I never say this in the videos, but if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and support the channel that way. I do appreciate it. All right, guys, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the congrats and everything. I really do appreciate you all joining me on the journey and supporting and everything. So it means a lot to me, and I want to keep going. I enjoy doing these live Q&As. If you want them even more often, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to do them maybe once a month or something like that. But I definitely will be doing them for every 10,000 subscribers. Do the live Q&A. It's always fun to connect with you guys this way, and to talk about guitar and opinions and all that kind of stuff. So I love it. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your day, and I will see you later.